Hello and welcome to Upon Further Review, your weekly podcast, radio cast on 1380 The Fan 100.9 FM. We thank you for joining us on whatever platform you are listening or watching us this evening. Alongside Eric Dukevich, I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith, and another week of sectional playoffs got underway this past Friday. We invited the 6As and 5As to the table, and the craziest of it is that those were semifinal games because of them being a week behind everybody. We were at the at the Homestead Hamilton Southeastern ball game that the Royals won 24-10, and their freshman phenom quarterback Deacon Johnson, if my memory serves me correctly, had himself a ball game. Homestead just can never get above or beyond the hump, even though at the end of the first quarter it was 17-10. It just wasn't going to be in the cards for the Homestead Friday night. Logan Frieden, decent ball game other than the 2 interceptions he's thrown, but he was 14 of 28 for 193. And it was one of those things that I thought Carter Kennedy was clearly the star of the game for Homestead, making several plays on the field, whether it be receiving or kickoff return or whatever, Eric. But Homestead just ran into a team who lost their starting quarterback week 4, and we had them against Carroll, as we discussed in the Parkview Sports Medicine pregame show, that this kid has really come on, and he's already receiving some Division I opportunities, especially at the Big Ten level.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a interesting game because Homestead got out of the blocks early. I mean, they were up 10-7. I mean, right. I think first possession they get the touchdown. They were up 10-7 in the first quarter, but didn't score after that. So Hamilton Southeastern came roaring back and really put it on. With 17 unanswered points to close out that game, 318 yards passing for Hamilton Southeastern. But you mentioned Carter Kennedy, 10 receptions, 146 yards. Logan Frieden had that rushing touchdown. It was one of those games where Homestead had to jump out early, and that was about their only chance. And they showed, the 2 weeks of preparation, but Hamilton Southeastern wound up being just way too much for the Homestead Spartans, and the Royals march on, and the Spartan season is over. But I think overall, just a decent comeback of a year for Homestead, really, when you think about it. A couple years, 3 years in a row, 5-5 to get to this point. And really, it was troubling in the sense that Michael White goes down with the injury. Logan Frieden comes in.
He played Friday.
Did he?
Yeah, he played at wideout some of the latter part of the fourth quarter for a couple series. That was it. Yeah. But like you said, unfortunately, he did lose the entire year otherwise to that injury. So it was kind of a change up at the beginning of the year for them. And like you said, they jumped back into the fray, but just couldn't get anything overly sustained.
Yeah, so that was one of the many sectional semifinal games involving teams around our area. Also, elsewhere in 6A, Carroll goes on the road and gets all over Elkhart, 49-14 in that Class 6A Sectional 2 semifinal. And they roll in their impressive showing once again for Carroll, and then also Northrop squeaks by Snyder, goes into overtime 17-16. Snyder gets the first overtime touchdown, and then the extra point is blocked, and then Northrop scores there. So it's going to be Carroll versus Northrop there, but that was a big one too. And 6.
Well, we said that. I mean, we said that was going to be on Friday night. That was going to be a completely different game from the earlier matchup because Snyder had 2 weeks to prepare for Northrop. And if there's anyone that's really good at preparing for teams, that's Coach Tippmann and his coaching staff. And they darn near found the magic they needed to pull the upset. It was just unfortunate they got a kick blocked.
Yeah, and that's, special teams ultimately kind of decided that. Of course, Northrop had the ensuing possession and won with the touchdown and the extra point. So they march on. We'll break down the game
We'll get to that
further these games, but just kind of a recap off the top of who won. Carroll beats Elkhart 49-14. Northrop over Snyder 17-16 in overtime. Down in Class 5A, Northside goes on the road and shuts out Goshen 41-0. So they move on to the sectional championship. Concord beat Warsaw. So that's the sectional there. And 4A, another really good game. Like I said, we'll break down these. East Noble just gets by Southside. Survives, yes, and had to score late game heroics there from Riley Biddle. They win 35-28. Dwenger convincingly over Columbia City 21-0. Over in also in 3A, Garrett shuts out Lakeland 21-0. And Angola storms past West Noble 21-20. And then Lures beats Norwell 45-12. Mississinewa all over Jay County. So it's Mississinewa and Lures. So a lot of games to break down. Oh, yeah, don't forget one for 1A, Adams Central, East Side, also winners, big winners in that, and South Adams. So we got quite a few teams left in the area. A lot of good games coming up on Friday night. We'll break all of those down. And we got an exciting show today. I think at this point, we're going to go ahead and bring in our first guest from one of those victorious teams on Friday night. He's a running back, a sophomore from the Bishop Luers Knights. We have Brandon Gaither II joining us here tonight on Upon Further Review. Brandon, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, congratulations to you on a big game on Friday night. You guys pull out the victory over Norwell and keep things rolling and move on to the sectional championship. Just talk about Friday night and really this postseason so far for Bishop Luers. What has, the ability to kind of turn the page from the regular season and now make your own march towards a trying to get a deep postseason run?
We're just working together as a team, holding each other accountable for like mistakes, or even the captain just showing us steps by step for the underclassmen so we could get more closer to our goal, which is state. So that's what we've been doing so far.
Sure. Looking at your stats from Friday night against Norwell. Now, Norwell was a 1-8 team, kind of got in there with the big win over Heritage last Friday, but still, it's whoever you play. For you, 13 carries, 147 yards, and a touchdown. Your game, really your season. You're a sophomore. Just talk about the growth of this team altogether, and really what you guys have been able to do. Because I was there growing pains for this team that you guys have worked out all throughout the season, or what has this team been like with a lot of younger guys on this team that, with some older guys that have gone to state championships? Talk about this team and really the in-season growth that you guys have experienced.
It was a challenge for us because, we got a lot of younger guys stepping up to the plate. So it's just helping us build a better bond with each other, trying to figure out what we can do better for like the next seasons and then more games to come upon. But, just working together is really what we did.
Sure. Splitting, there's a lot of talented sophomores that you guys work. That growth, I mean, talk about your sophomore class. We see sophomore running backs in you and sophomore quarterbacks with Reichert and Johnson, and we see receivers. Talk about that group, that sophomore class, and how important you guys are right now and will continue to grow and growing together to represent Bishop Luers.
We got a lot of playmakers on the team. We got Nate Javins, wide receiver, Terrence, another sophomore running back, doing big things. So once one of us goes out, another one comes in, and we just shine.
Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah. This game, Brandon, against Norwell, is a team that kind of had a surprise first-round win. You guys never gave them really much of a chance on Friday night. Was that something that Coach had kind of expressed during the week about your preparation for a team like Norwell, who I guess you would say on paper you probably were better than, but having them winning their first round game coming into you guys, was Coach's message this week, do not let this team slide by because they can beat anybody?
Yes, it was. He told us not to take any. He told us to play like it's a regular game, play it like it's our heart out, like it's a state championship, because you never know what can happen. They can come out here, beat us, and that could be it for us. So we just came out, played our heart out, and came out with the dub.
Yeah, I see in the statistics on Friday night that you and Epperson both had a good game. You had 147 yards, as was up there on the screen, but Epperson had 93 yards. So you guys are kind of a 1-2 punch there, together, with Epperson getting 3 TDs, you getting one of them 100-yard plus. Is that what I see?
I had two, but they said one of them didn't count. But it's fine. We still
Well,
came
what
out.
about the 101-yard one? Was that a rushing TD, or is that a kickoff return, or what was that?
That I think that was rushing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had a big night as well. But here's the thing: Thomas Reichert had a great night. Now you guys have been using 2 quarterbacks for the better part of the middle part of the year. Thomas had a night 14 of 19, 177 yards. That's 74% completion percentage and 2 touchdowns. What was it like playing behind a hot-handed quarterback in that ball game? Because you guys not only had your rushing game going, which is to say that is your bread and butter, but to have a quarterback that was on fire Friday night as well, because you guys kind of fed off each other.
Yep, it felt good to know that we also got a run game, but also a throwing game. So we came out, at first quarter running the ball. Then after that, we just started throwing the ball, and it was just butter from there.
Yeah, big matchup on Friday night now. Sectional finals Friday with Mississinawa. I do believe that's at Mississinawa, if I'm not mistaken. So you guys go down there. Tough environment. That's a hard place to go to win. What has Coach said about Mississinawa right now? Because you guys are pretty evenly matched ball clubs.
He's just saying stay focused. Don't let like the outside distraction get to you. Just stay focused and lock in. That's all you got to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure Coach will have you guys well prepared to take on Mississinawa. Ole Miss, as they like to be called down there, I think. But it's a great environment for high school football. We watched some of the highlights here, I think, from a game earlier this year. With you guys now into the tournament, beyond the season, you play a tough schedule during the regular season. Now you're getting into playing the teams that are similar in size and such. How do you feel playing that Summit Athletic Conference schedule prepares you for this moment right now? Do you feel that's a big help to prepare you for what you guys are going through now?
But yeah, I think it's a big help, because I trust in my guys. I trust in myself as well, because I know that we got the talent. I know we're all good players. So just getting that better look at what we playing against is a great thing for like next season or the games to come upon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Brandon, talk about a little bit about your football journey. I mean, you're still a young guy, a sophomore, but already turning some heads. We saw you in week 1 when you guys played Leo off the bat, and really impressive, and kind of all season long. Your honorable mention, all SEC. Your football journey. How did you kind of find football, and really where how it became your sport years ago?
It was really my dad and my mom. They had introduced me to football when I was like 7, and from there it was just like I fell in love with the sport. I started playing flag. That's when I had put on the equipment and really started hitting something. So when I first put the equipment, I was like, yeah, this is my thing. I just got to keep going.
Yeah. And it's parlayed into your time here at Lures, playing for Lures. I mean, talk about that. I mean, you kind of and we kind of alluded to it, the growth of the team, but your maturation as a running back, playing in that system behind that big offensive line, the trench mob, I think they call her. Maybe that's the defensive side,
Yeah.
But ultimately your growth in this, how has being part of this program helped you as a running back as you develop?
Helped me really good. They helped me like to not also be a player, but also be smart on the outside world, because football is not always going to be there for me or anybody. So it's a good what's the word for this? It's a good
learning experience.
Yeah, learning experience for me. and for even the players, my teammates. So I really appreciate them and what they're doing for me.
Well, excellent. Well, it's been fun to watch you kind of break out a little bit. And like I said, we saw you early on. And now we're seeing a lot more of you. Bishop Luers still in the state tournament. You traveled to Mississinawa for the 3A Sectional 28 championship on Friday night. Best of luck to you, Brandon, and the Bishop Luers Knights as you continue to roll in your sectional playoffs. And I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of you come in the future.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Good luck, Brandon.
Thank you.
Take care. That was Brandon Gaither the second. I did check. It's not junior. It's the second, coach. But what a talent he is. And one of the many talents. He mentioned it, a strong sophomore class that we saw early on that kind of took their lumps. I mean, it took a while to get things going, but I think having that coaching staff with Kyle Lindsay and that group, it's going to help because now these guys are ready through the grind of the SAC season to go in against 3A schools outside of the Fort Wayne area. Luers shines this time of year.
Yeah, and you can tell there by that young man, kind of a happy-go-lucky smile on his face all the time. Probably a great kid to coach just because of his attitude towards things and, you know, his expectation of being great. They did what they needed to do Friday. They jumped on Norwell. It was a 28-12 game at halftime, and then they shut them out the second half 17-0 and gave Norwell no chance. Now they get to go on the road to play a 10-1 Mississinawa team that is going to be, that's a tough place to go play and win. And, you know, there have been Fort Wayne teams that have gone there and won. I think the last one, if I can remember, may have been Wayne a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken. But this will be a tough matchup for them. Mississinawa is a good club, and, you know, they're going to be probably junior, senior laden, and Bishop Luers is still young, no matter what, you know, any way you look at it. So they'll have to play their best game of the year Friday night against Mississinawa to come away with the win.
Yeah, and these two teams, now Luers moving up to 3A, these two teams are in the same sectional now, sectional 28.
They played last year, I thought, right?
They played last year in the sectional championship. Now, keep in mind, Luers run a year ago. They beat undefeated Mississinawa, at undefeated Mechaniqua, semi-state versus Garrett. So they knocked off 3 ranked undefeated teams in rounds to the state finals, lost to Heritage Hills. But, I mean, this is a team that continues to impress. And I think probably playing those teams a year ago in Mississinawa, they get it and they know what the challenge is. And now you have to go on the road and do it on top of that. So it'll be a really interesting matchup. I mean, the defense for Luers has continued to grow too. I mean, we didn't talk about that as much with Brandon just because he's the running back. But ultimately, the defense for Luers starting to pick up. And really, it's not just beating teams that you should beat. I mean, they should have beaten Norwell, and they did handily. But he also mentioned playing like it is a sectional championship every Friday night, no matter who the opponent is, because now you have to go to number 6 Mississinawa. Luers was number 1 preseason in Class 3A, so in effect a big time matchup. And you go on the road to a good place that likes their football, that has had success in East Central Indiana, and you gotta put it on the line again. And I think Luers does a good job preparing for big type of games year in and year out.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things that you know, Coach Lindsay does such a good job with his ball club, and he's even said playing the SAC games that they play every year is a definite benefit for them when they go into these type of ball games, because they've played tough games. They've played against the best teams in the Summit Athletic Conference, and they're probably not going to play any better teams down the road than what they've played all year. And their defense, I think, has always been their strength, and it started out that way this year when they played at Leo and had a game there, first game of the year. So I do think, again, tough game Friday night versus Mississinawa, but they know what to expect, having played them, so they know how good that team can be. So there's no surprises in that end of the equation. So it's going to come down to, and if Thomas Reichert is playing his best ball, that just gives them an added punch offensively that they haven't had consistently all year at the quarterback position. It's kind of been an inconsistent position for them most of the year. And if he can continue to play like that and have high percentage throws and such, then look out, because that offense is just going to be that much better.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 straight sectional titles for Bishop Lures, who were the state runners up a year ago, 28 all time. So Lures has 28 all time. Dwenger has 28 all time. Snyder is 29 all time. Number 1 all time, Carmel at 32. So Snyder's number 2 all time. And then Dwenger and Lures tied for 3rd all time in sectional titles in the state of Indiana. Snyder obviously won't get number 30 this year, but Dwenger and Lures both can get 29. We'll see how that shapes out on Friday. Well, we're up against our first break of the evening here on Upon Further Review. When we come back, we'll look back at all the Friday night sectional semifinal action and start to break down some of the sectional championships coming up this Friday night. You're listening to Upon Further Review right here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
Welcome back to Upon Further Review here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM, as well as other listening or watching platforms. We glad you came along for tonight's broadcast as we are into the championship season of things. It's hard to believe we're already in November.
Yeah.
And we're, 3 weeks away from the state tournament, state finals in Indianapolis. It's kind of amazing to even think of that, because of how fast this season has gone already. And before you know it, college basketball starting this week, and high school basketball won't be too far along. The girls, I think, started
Tuesday.
Yeah. So we're well into that crossover season of high school sports now, but we need to catch up with some of these games from not only from Friday night, but we also need to set the table for what is coming this Friday in the sectional championship games for our Fort Wayne area schools, as well as those around us. We've already kind of talked about those 2 ball games that Carroll and Northrop both won. Now we get a rematch of a marathon of a game that we had broadcast here. And here's the ironic part.
We want to remind people about this game. I mean,
the crazy thing about it is,
itself.
the crazy thing of this is John Nolan will be setting in for Mr. Brett Rump on Friday night as Mastodons basketball is starting to they've already played a game. It was Monday night, and they will be playing again this weekend. So John Nolan will be sitting in the play-by-play chair, but he gets to call the rematch of Carroll versus Northrop, a 3.5+ hour ball game riddled with not only points scored, but penalties. But this one will be interesting because I think Carroll is playing their best ball. I think it was evident by what they did at Elkart. Freisinger, I think, has really played well. Their defense is definitely one of the best in the area. I know Northrop's got a lot of athletes, and their defense is nothing too shabby itself. So this is going to be a heavyweight fight Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. And for all that was made of that game several weeks back with the officiating, and I've learned a lot about how officiating and how they schedule things out and how all of that works. And we don't know at this time who the crew will be. I think being a 6A sectional championship in the Fort Wayne area, I think we're going to get a little bit better of a crew, and I'll just leave it at that. But ultimately, yes, this is a rematch from just a few weeks ago that Carroll won 48-37. And I think that's the other side of the coin, is at the end of the day, Carroll won that game. And,
Northrop came back is what it made it.
Came back and tried mightily. And there were, big plays all over the field, but ultimately, all said and done, Carroll was the ones that to do enough, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, particularly Gabe Freising. Excuse me. If you go back to that game,
Van Pelt was huge that game.
Van Pelt was huge on receiving the ball, but the quarterback perspective, Gabe Freisinger, 20 for 28, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. And Van Pelt had 2 of those catches for 90 yards. Shealy had 96 yards. Ballman had a touchdown. So obviously, and the running game, 197 yards. Northrop plays all over there. Callison had 362 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick, only 96 yards of rushing. So I think there'll probably be less penalties. It'll be a much shorter game. I think Carroll, even in that win then, has gotten better. Their defense has improved. And I think what we've seen so far through the sectional playoff, that has bore out too, with just their ability. Now, it was one game a week ago, last week, but 3 sacks against Elkhart. They had 2 picks. So their defense is really coming up stronger too. And it's been strong all year. And we saw that against Bishop Dwenger. So I think that's the challenge at hand is a rematch. It's hard to beat a team twice. I think for a team like Carroll, it's probably easier to beat Northrop twice. But Northrop has got a really solid team. And really, this is as far as basically Northrop has ever been. And trying to get that next step and with an 8-win season, trying to make it 9 wins in a sectional title.
Well, the biggest thing they're on uncharted territory, and Carroll has kind of been there, done that. So they have the advantage of being there in a sectional championship game. If I'm Northrop, I'm going to find how I get the ball to Quay and get it to him quite often, because that's one thing I don't think they did enough when Carroll played him the first time, as Quay really, other than the quick screen that he took all the way back, that was kind of it on the night when it came to him. And I'm going to find every which way that I can to get the ball in his hands on Friday night, even if that means lining him up in the backfield, whether it's the Wildcat, whatever, because he's a difference maker. He's a kid that's going to be better than anybody else on that field. So it'll be interesting to see how they target him in terms of getting him the football. And the same thing with Carroll. They're going to target Van Pelt. I mean, they're going to find ways to put the ball in that kid's hands because he's just too good of an athlete not to put the ball in his hands.
Yeah, and I think for Northrop, too, coming out of that Snyder game where you sweep Snyder for the first time in school history in the same season, 2 wins in the same season over Snyder, 17-16, it goes to overtime. I think 2 things. You got to move on for that. So that's another challenge for Northrop, is the emotional hangover of getting past that game and moving on and the excitement of it. But also, too, what you take away from that, the defensive effort for Northrop. They withstood the storm and got past Snyder, and now they have a chance to avenge a loss to Carroll. And it, not too far. This is at Carroll, and these 2 teams pretty close relatively where they're located. So, and for Carroll too, like, just because you beat them a couple weeks ago, they showed that Northrop can come back in a hurry and score a lot of points in a hurry and make this a game again in a hurry. And so I think I don't know if we may see a shootout to the same amount of points. I just don't. I think it'll probably be a less fouls and penalty game, but this should be a fun one out at Carroll. This
is a flip of the coin game. So I mean, it's going to be who has the ball last type of ball game, and who comes away with less mistakes, and that's going to be the key component there. Let's see. We go to what, sectional 11 now, 5A.
Yeah,
is that we're good?
11 in class 5A, and I was incorrect.
I tell you. Yeah, what did you say?
I was saying on the morning show, I was saying on the pregame show, I kept calling the 6A game that we were at last week with Homestead sectional 11, but this is sectional 11 class 5A. They were sectional 4.
The best thing that happened the best thing that, I don't know why I'm getting cut out, but I'm sorry if I'm walking on you.
You're
good. The best thing that happened Friday night for Northside, other than them winning on the road, is Concord beat Warsaw, because Warsaw, again, is a tough team to prepare for in the tournament. Concord had 2 weeks to prepare for them, plus they played them earlier in the year, and they were ready for what Warsaw had to deliver. It would have been a much tougher game for Northside if Warsaw had won. So the fact that they get to play Concord at home, and from my point of view, is an advantage for them. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win the game. Right. It's just that they're going to play a pretty much like-minded team.
Matches up better.
Yeah, right. In this game on Friday, and they did a great job going to Goshen. That's not an easy place to go and win, and they found a way to get a W and play one more game. And now who knows who's going to win? And is that true? That's a 7:30 kick.
If it's on Harold's site, I'll say yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because they're not that far from here.
No,
Concord.
I mean Hamilton Southeastern was able to do and
yeah, they agreed to it.
To get there, because when I rolled up to Homestead about 5:30, that's when the Hamilton Southeastern buses were coming in.
Yeah, right.
So that might be. I mean, it worked out. Apparently, not too much road construction on I-69, but ultimately, yeah. And my understanding is if it's in the 2-hour radius, and so Hamilton Southeastern was closing, so maybe
Goshen and Concord are literally 15 minutes apart.
Yeah. Well,
so why this game is playing at 7:30 on Friday night is beyond me. And
you're already losing daylight, right?
Well, it just doesn't make sense. I understand, like you said, if they're on in a 2-hour beyond radius, like Hamilton Southeastern last week, had they chose to play 7:30 against Homestead, I think everybody would have said, okay, that's understandable because of the distance they're traveling. But why is Concord playing at 7:30 versus Northside when they're not any further than Goshen was for Northside? So that's an interesting thing. We'll have to double check on that because I'm kind of surprised by that time. But anyway.
Yeah, no, Concord put it out on Halloween night shortly after the game. Final score 45-28, now 9-1. We traveled to Fort Wayne Northside for the championship game Friday at 7:30. So yes, Concord put it out moments. I mean, they had already planned that they were coming to play at 7:30, so they knew. So part of it, I think, is probably, Warsaw probably. Anyway, well, the time part, that's probably just a side note in all of this. The actual game, when it comes down to, this is going to be a challenge for Northside. Concord 9-1, number 6 in Class 5A. Talented team, beat Warsaw twice this year. Warsaw was the state runner-up from a year ago. Of course, they graduated 24 seniors, so not quite the same Warsaw team we saw a year ago. But Northside will have its hands full. But they get the big 41-0 win a week ago over Goshen. And just looking at that stats, what was key? Jaden Rivers was back. We mentioned that. He did not play as quarterback, as QB1 against Snyder to close out the regular season, but he was back in there. 7 for 10, 65 yards. So not a lot of passing from Rivers, but the running game for Northside really paid off. They go 211 yards as a team on the ground, 4 touchdowns. 2 of those touchdowns, Caleb Kingley with 135 yards. So, which that's a good sign too, because I don't think Malik Moore played again in this game looking back. Yeah, because he did not play against Snyder. Appears to be due to injury, and he's not on the stat sheet on Max Preps for this previous game. So it'll be interesting to see if they get Malik Moore, if that adds to it. But I think the running game really established itself for Northside, and I think you're going to have a running game to slow down the pace of the game against a team like Concord.
Well, Concord is led by Bo Bruner, the quarterback. He is thrown for 1,500 yards on the year, 75 completions, 13 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. Brevard, their running back, has already had 1,176 yards, and he's averaging 117 a game. So they're facing a pretty dynamic duo in those two, because Bruner is their second leading rusher at 540 yards. So that will be an interesting aspect of this ball game, is that, like you said, they're the 6th ranked team in the state. They've got a talented quarterback, a talented running back. and they've got about 3 or 4 receivers that they distribute the ball to fairly well. And this will be a tough matchup for Northside, even though they got them at home.
Yeah, Northside's last sectional championship, 1990. And I was just telling somebody, you talk about how times have changed. This is just another side note. 1990, the last time Northside won a sectional championship. The other teams in that sectional, Snyder, Northrop, Wayne, Penn, and there was another one out there. Like I think Warsaw was in there too. So, that was huge sectional with teams that, I mean, it's crazy how times have changed. Of course, there was less classes back then.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck to the Legends on Friday night as they host out at Chambers Field. We'll go on to Class 4A here. And of course, the big one is going to be Sectional 19. Let me find my tab here to switch that. That is going to be Bishop Dwenger locking up with East Noble. And boy, oh boy, I mean, just the name on the marquee says it all for this one, Coach.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty big packed house at Bishop Dwenger Friday night. And East Noble folk better get there early because the visiting stands are not that big. Because they'll bring the whole town now. The whole town will, from East Noble, will be at Shields Field Friday night, as will all the Dwenger Saints be there for an exciting ball game. I mean, probably the 2 best area teams in Northeast Indiana lining up. You hate to see it so early. You like for this type of game to be maybe that semi-state game, but they're in the same sectional. East Noble is kind of guided their way through the year. They were tested against Southside, which probably didn't surprise us. We had said that Southside's speed could be a legitimate threat to East Noble. And I think that proved itself out there at on Friday night, and they were able to get over the hump. And they've done that twice this year, that game and then DeKalb, where they had to pull it out in the latter part of the fourth quarter. They won't be able to do that against Bishop Dwenger. Dwenger's too good of a defense. They're going to have to fight for every yard they get against this Bishop Dwenger defense. It's the Dwenger offense that needs to be the team, the side of the ball that wins the ball game Friday night, because East Noble's defense is really good as well. It's going to be whether or not Henry Jordan can come again and put another stellar performance again like he did against Leo, and that offensive line for Bishop Dwenger, can they control that tough front six for East Noble?
Yeah. And looking back at that game, I mean, obviously East Noble can hurt you through the air and on the ground. Dwenger's defense has shown that they've grounded a lot of the ground, the air attacks from, you think of Carroll, you think of Homestead. Now Northrop was able to get it through the air on them and beat
But they ran the ball against them pretty good because of that.
They ran it too, and I think that's what's going to be the challenge. And Biddle,
that's going to be the key.
Yeah, because Biddle ran it 26 times for 202 yards and 5 touchdowns against Southside. They all about abandoned the pass in the sense that Biddle only went 6 for 10, 80 yards and an interception to the air. So they kept it on the ground, 361 as a team. With Phillips and Lucas Neiman and Andrew Oakes, another one. So that was their game plan.
They were probably trying to shorten it.
But I think the other aspect of that was taking care of the football, because in the game against Southside, Biddle had 2 lost fumbles, and there was a third fumble that East Noble retained. But I think that's taking care of the football, because Dwenger will make you pay. And suddenly, if you have 2 against Southside, I mean, it could be easily 4 or 5 against a team like Dwenger with their defense. So that will be a fun one there. And I think the key for Dwenger is going to be the aspect of shortening the game, much like they did against Carroll, in the sense of the ground and pound, keeping that offense on the sideline. And it may come down to kicks. And we know that Dwenger's got the kicker in Lucas Gwynn, another 50-yarder, 50-yarders this year. Sprague has graduated from East Noble, so I'm not really up to speed on who the kicker is at East Noble, but it could come down to a field goal or overtime or a goal line situation like we saw with East Noble against DeKalb, like we saw East Noble basically against Southside on Friday. 9 seconds, within a minute, they had to score that touchdown.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One quick thing here, and then we can move on because we got to stay on time here.
Yeah.
This game will come down to Dwenger being able to keep Biddle in the pocket. One thing against teams like Dwenger, when you have a running quarterback, they better account for him, because if they do not account for him, he will hurt them Friday night. So they're going to have to figure out a way, whether it's spying a guy or whatever. But if they don't account for him, they're going to have a hard time stopping East Noble.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move on to sectional 26 in Class 3A. We have an NECC matchup again between two big schools, Garrett and Angola. And
this is the most interesting one on the docket, I think.
You talk about a coin flip in a lot of different ways as far as we're concerned, as far as I'm concerned. 6-5, Garrett, 6-5, Angola. Angola, second upset in the playoffs to get to this point.
They're playing good ball.
Hawk Hasselman, the do everything guy for Angola. And look, West Noble led that game 21-7 at the end of the third quarter, or 20-7. And Angola gets 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to win 21-20 and move on to the sectional final against Garrett, a team that shut down Lakeland. And we talked about it for the couple weeks now. They shut out Fairfield 7-0. It wasn't the prettiest game ever, but they score late. They shut out Lakeland 21-0. Braden Holbrook, another great quarterback in our area, they're able to keep Lakeland off the scoreboard. So Garrett's defense has carried them back to a sectional championship. And this should be a fun one involving two teams that have played a lot of football games against each other over probably a century.
Yeah, and like you said, Garrett's defense was good a year ago when we saw them. And like you mentioned again, they're kind of been the one that has carried them. Angola, I mean, Ravis has had a decent year, 800 yards through the air, 64%. So they're running, doing some good things with him. 8 TDs. Now he's thrown 6 picks. I think you already mentioned Hasselman, over 1,100 yards on the year. So Garrett, it will probably have their hands full in this ball game with the way Angola is playing. They've gotten hot. They beat a really good West Noble team, a team in their conference, and we'll see what all transpires at Angola, another place that it's hard to go win at.
Yeah, and a credit to the Garrett offense as well. It's not just all defense. You got to score points to win the game. 301 yards on the ground against Lakeland and 3 team touchdowns, 2 of which by Carter Fielden. Alex Guzman, 109 yards and a touchdown for the Railroaders on the ground there as they continue to keep things going. Over in the Class 3A sectional 28, this involves Bishop Luers. We touched on it a little bit. Bishop Luers versus Mississinawa, a rematch of last year's sectional championship. This year at Mississinawa, that's in Gaston, Indiana, and down near Marion. And Gas City, I'm sorry.
Gas City. Yeah, I was going to say Gas
City. Westdale. Gas City is Mississinawa. I've been there a couple times on the banks of the Wabash River. But Bishop Luers trying to keep things going. Again, the ground and pound style of Mississinawa, that Luers defense is going to have its work cut off on stopping the run.
Yeah, Mississinawa has got a junior quarterback. Schwartz is his name, 700 and almost 90 yards on the year, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But they also have a back that's over almost 1,300 yards this season. Monday is his name, averaging 143.8 a game. So you got to think that they're going to have to find ways to, stop him. And then they've got 3 or 4 guys that can catch it down the field. So this will be by far the most complete team that they have faced since they faced some of the, Carrolls and Homesteads and those type of teams with this Mississinawa team. And it's going to be a dandy of a game. If Luers can keep up and their defense can keep stopping people, they got a chance.
Absolutely. And, 303 yards on the ground. We talked to Brandon Gaither the second earlier on in the show, 147 yards for him. As a team, Lures goes for 303 yards against Norwell. A little bit tougher task this week, but consistency has been great for Lures, and we'll see if they can do it again. Well, we're up against our next break here on Upon Further Review. When we come back, we'll look at the Class 2A and Class 1A sectional championships for teams involving our area. East Side and Adams Central's South Adams Starfires. Still have time to talk about them right here on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back here to Upon Further Review alongside Eric Dukevich. I'm the coach Shannon Griffith, and we will keep us rolling here on the Friday night ball games that you will find in and around Northeast Indiana. We're going to head to Sectional 35 down the Highway 27. Duke Adams Central takes on East Side, and this is a refreshing game on the calendar for Friday night because these two have battled before in games of this magnitude as we've seen in the past. But Adams Central, again, 11-0, big win against Bluffton. East Side finding their way through it, 9-2, rebounding from a kind of a disappointing a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. But man, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man, and this is probably the best way to say it right there, because until Adams Central gets beat, they are the king of the hill.
Yeah, they're the reigning state champion. They've been to the state finals the last 4 years, going for 5 in a row.
Seems like forever.
And part of that is that they have beaten Eastside and some really good Eastside teams.
Yeah,
these teams have played each other a couple times in the regular season too. In fact, I'm trying to remember back. I'll have to pull up actual Eastside stats here. But did they play each other? Yeah, week 2. They played so this is a rematch from week 2 at Eastside. Adams Central won 32-21. So again, it was not a runaway ball game for the Flying Jets. And realistically, Eastside starts out 2-0. They've won, or 2-2, I should say. They've won 7 straight now. And, I see 3 shutouts, another one, a field goal. So in the sectional so far, they've outscored their opponents 90-3. And so this is a Eastside team that's also scoring a lot of points. Their defense is ratcheted up. There's a lot of different ways that they can beat you. But this is definitely Eastside's toughest task to date. Yet again, probably even tougher than what we saw in week 2, because Adams Central continues to roll. What they were able to do again, another convincing victory over Bluffton, who was probably the best team to even have a chance to knock off Adams Central this year. And Adams Central went about their business and quickly did this. So I think Adams Central, yes, they have a lot of ways to beat you. Their offense, Jamison Roach, their quarterback, they have a lot of different guys that can, play both ways. That they're just an all-around machine that has withstood the test of time with the way they have that factory almost mentality down there and developing. And that's going to be good. But credit to Eastside, what they, like you mentioned, what they've been able to do and kind of bounce back this year too, because last year was kind of a down year. They've graduated some key players. They've got a younger quarterback in Joe Richmond, Noah Dove, a sophomore running back. And so they've just been able to continue to keep things rolling. And they got a favorable draw in their side, because this could have been a first-round matchup as easily as it is a sectional championship with the way the ping pong balls fly. Ultimately, Eastside finds itself in this situation. And look, a couple years ago, it was beating teams like Lures to move on to regionals and things like that. So Eastside has been there too and been in that big game and won those big games. So don't sleep on these Blazers going on the road to a great environment like Monroe.
You said, the Richmond kid thrown for over 1,000 yards this year, but he's also their leading rusher. He has 1,500 yards on the ground, 8.4 yards a carry, 150 yards on the ground, 103 through the air on average. That in itself is a huge, huge threat to a team like Adams Central, because he's the guy that they're going to have to key on. But Dove, the other kid you mentioned, he's had 765 yards on the ground. So this is an offense that may give them some trouble if they're not careful. But they've been able to stop these high-powered offenses before. They did it again against Bluffton a week ago because they had a talented team as well. So they have the recipe to do that, and part of it is their offense. So it will be a tough task for Eastside, and going into Adams Central to have to beat them at home just adds another 7 points to the to the scoreboard against them. So tough game, but also should be a pretty good one.
Yep, absolutely. We'll move on quickly to our 1A games. This sectional 43 we'll just touch on really quickly. Fremont and North Miami. Fremont makes the trip over to Denver, Indiana, and North Miami County to face the Warriors. 2 8-3 teams. Fremont, what a great year it's been for them. One of the schools out of the NECC that has had its struggles, but has turned things around and sitting pretty, and opportunity to play for a sectional championship on Friday night.
Has to be one of their best years in some time, I would imagine, but they'll have a tough task. Going to North Miami down there in Denver is not an easy place to go play and get a W. So they'll have to work hard Friday night to come out on top.
Most wins for Fremont since 2001 under head coach Dan Callahan when they went 8-4. Last sectional title would have been never. No, I'm sorry. I don't want to say that. Let me hold on. Tournament history. I'll look it up. Oh, yeah. They've never won a sectional title, has Fremont. North Miami, their last sectional title was last year. So they're the reigning champion in this sectional. Really cool. Bud Wright, by the way, real quickly. Bud Wright, the longtime Sheridan coach, no longer with Sheridan, all-time winningest coach, now an assistant coach for North Miami, back where he started back in the 1960s. Kind of a cool story there, too. 3 Hall of Famers on that staff at North Miami. Just the assistant coaches. One of them, Tim Du Bois, has his name on the field. That's how big football is in North Miami and Denver, Indiana. All right, sectional 44. That's the other team in our area. If I can, that's going to be South Adams, and they're playing Hagerstown. My thing is taking a second to load here. But yeah, South Adams, another team coach playing really good football. I mean, this is going to be an exciting one for them. The opportunity to go back-to-back. We talked about it with Wesley Somerset a few weeks ago on the show. South Adams playing their best ball yet again this time of year.
Yeah, and that's at home. That's a game they got at home against Hagerstown. Hagerstown's 5-6. Big win over Monroe Central. That would probably have been the upset in my mind. But South Adams 8-3. I'd say they're sitting in pretty good position against this Hagerstown team, and I look for them to come out on top. And they've been running on all cylinders pretty much all year. So this one should go in their favor.
Yeah, really strong showing again. A team that went 5-6 or 4-5 in the regular season, then they won 6 games in a row. Did Adams Central a year ago? They followed it up now with some big wins to go 8-3 on the year, and are really scoring a lot of points on the scoreboard. 38 points a game and giving up 21 on defense. They scored the last. Oh my gosh! I mean, yeah. What out of their 11 games, I think 8 of them have been 40 or more. So high-flying offense led by Titus Lehman, their quarterback, should be a fun one on Friday night as they go for back-to-back. Well, that wraps up going through the sectionals, Coach. And, wow, we are at sectional championship Friday night. It should be a fun one. Of course, we are going to be at Carroll High School for the 6A sectional 3 championship between the Carroll Chargers and the Northrop Bruins as our Midwest Box Breaks high school football game of the week on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. John Nolan along with you. Coach, what's your biggest thing you're going to look for in this game on Friday night between Northrop and Carroll?
Well, I kind of alluded to it earlier. How much does Northrop find ways to get the ball in their 2 best players' hands? That's Whale and Quay. Those 2 guys are the 2 best. And then can Northrop's defense keep Mr. Freisinger in check as well as Van Pelt. You're not going to stop them, but can you keep them in check? So should be a big game Friday night. Great to be there. Great hospitality as always, dude. And I will see you there Friday night. And for Mr. Eric Dukevich, I'm the coach Shannon Griffith. We'll catch you next time on Upon Further Review, all right here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.